The quiet suburban road stretched ahead, dappled with shadows from the overhanging trees. Officer Tom Reynolds, a middle-aged cop with a stern expression and decades on the force, Saturday in his patrol car, watching the occasional vehicle pass. It was a routine afternoon, but Tom's sharp eyes locked onto a sleek black car cruising down the street. He frowned. Something about the car's elegance and the driver's apparent confidence triggered an unspoken bias. "Another one speeding through my town," Tom muttered to himself, flicking on his sirens. "Let's see what we've got here." The black car pulled over, and the driver, a composed black woman, impeccably dressed, rolled down her window with practiced calm. "License and registration," Tom demanded, his voice clipped. "Do you know how fast you were going?" The woman smiled faintly, retrieving her documents with an air of grace. "Good afternoon, officers. I believe I was within the speed limit." Tom raised an eyebrow, smirking. "Really? That's not what my radar says. You from around here?" "I'm just passing through," she replied, handing him her paperwork. "Heading to a meeting downtown." Tom scrutinized her license, his smirk deepening. "Angela Brooks. What kind of meeting are you rushing to, Miss Brooks?" Angela's voice remained steady, her demeanor unshaken. "A professional one." "Professional? Must be nice driving a car like this. Got some friends in high places, I'm guessing," Tom remarked, his tone dripping with insinuation. Angela met his gaze with a faint smile. "Something like that." Tom walked back to his patrol car, muttering under his breath, "Probably some big shot's mistress or something. These people always think they're above the law." He ran Angela's information through the system, waiting for her profile to load. When it finally appeared, his world tilted. The screen displayed her full title: Angela Brooks, Head of Internal Affairs, State Police Department. Tom's eyes widened, and his pulse quickened. "No way, this has to be a mistake," he whispered, quickly verifying the information, but the truth stared back at him, undeniable. Panic set in as Tom took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. He returned to Angela's car, his earlier bravado replaced by nervousness. Miss Brooks, I mean, Chief Brooks, I'm so sorry for the inconvenience," he stammered. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding." Angela raised an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding, officers?" "Yes, ma'am," Tom said quickly. "I didn't realize who you were. Please accept my apologies." Angela tilted her hat slightly. "And if I weren't who I am, would this still be a misunderstanding?" Tom's face flushed. I'm just doing my job, ma'am." Angela's calm gaze didn't waver. "From the tone and assumptions you made, it seems like you're doing more than just your job." "I didn't mean any disrespect, ma'am," Tom said, his voice faltering. "It's just protocol." "Protocol," Angela echoed, her voice cool. "I'll be noting this incident and reviewing it further. You'll be hearing from my office soon." "Please, Chief Brooks." "There's no need for that," Tom pleaded. "Let's just forget this ever happened." Angela smiled politely but firmly. "I'm afraid that's not how things work." She rolled up her window and drove off, leaving Tom standing there, sweating and regretting every word he'd said. Back at the precinct, Tom Reynolds Saturday nervously at his desk, the encounter with Angela Brooks playing on repeat in his mind. The day had started as a typical shift, but now it felt as though his entire career was hanging by a thread. The precinct hummed around him, the occasional clatter of keyboards, the distant buzz of conversations. Tom's colleagues gave him curious glances, some whispering under their breath, while others appeared indifferent, but no one could ignore the tension in the air. As Tom sorted through some paperwork, a call came through the precinct intercom. "Chief Brooks is here," the dispatcher announced. The room fell silent as heads turned, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Angela Brooks, the very person whose name had once been synonymous with integrity, had arrived. A few minutes later, Angela walked into the precinct, her official uniform sharp and commanding. She moved with purpose, her posture upright and disciplined. Conversations quieted, and everyone's attention turned to her. Angela didn't miss a beat. She made her way directly to the chief's office, where Tom knew she would soon be. Tom's stomach twisted in knots. His mind raced as it tried to prepare for what was coming. Would this be a simple reprimand, or would it go further? As the hours passed, he found himself stewing in his anxiety, unable to focus on the routine tasks at hand. Finally, his name was called. Tom slowly walked into the chief's office, his heart pounding. Angela Brooks, now in her full capacity as head of internal affairs, stood before the chief of police. Her gaze was sharp, and there was an unspoken weight to her presence that commanded respect. The chief nodded toward Angela. "Chief Brooks has something to discuss with you." Officer Reynolds. Angela looked directly at Tom, her voice measured but firm. Officer Reynolds, your conduct during our encounter earlier today was unacceptable. Profiling and disrespect have no place in our department. Tom's face flushed with shame. I'm deeply sorry, ma'am. It won't happen again. Angela didn't soften her tone. Sorry isn't enough. This isn't just about today's incident. It's about the larger issue setting a standard in our department. Tom's hands fidgeted, his usual confidence now replaced by vulnerability. I've been on the force for 15 years. I'm not a bad cop. Angela's eyes sharpened. Good cops don't make the assumptions you did today. You had an opportunity to do your job, but instead, you let your bias cloud your judgment. That's unacceptable. The chief, listening intently, took a moment before speaking. Tom, this behavior cannot be ignored. We take these matters seriously. You're being placed on administrative leave, pending a full investigation into your conduct. Tom's face went pale. Please, Chief Brooks, I've been with this force longer than some officers have been alive. I've dedicated my life to this job. Angela cut him off. Your dedication doesn't erase the damage you caused. Good cops hold themselves to higher standards. Officer Reynolds, this isn't just about today's incident. It's about accountability. Tom swallowed hard. I'm truly sorry, Chief Brooks. Please, I have learned from this. I'll do better. Angela's expression didn't change. It'll take more than words to fix this. Good intentions aren't enough. The investigation will run its course. You'll hear from my office soon. Tom's shoulders slumped as he left the office. Humiliated, the weight of her words lingered with him, the realization that his actions had consequences, far beyond his immediate moment of arrogance. The days that followed were some of the hardest Tom Reynolds had ever endured. He spent his time in isolation, waiting at home, the sting of Angela Brooks's words still echoing in his mind. His phone buzzed occasionally with texts from his colleagues' curious inquiries, subtle glances toward him in the precinct, but nothing offered any comfort. Each passing hour only deepened his unease. The weight of the administrative leave loomed over him like a looming shadow. He replayed his interaction with Angela over and over. The sharpness of her gaze, the way she called him out for his bias, her calm authority felt like a dagger to his pride. At night, sleep didn't come easily. When he did manage to rest, nightmares plagued him, visions of being publicly exposed, of being stripped of his badge, of losing everything he had worked for. The hollow realization set in. What he had done wasn't just a slip of judgment. It had been a reflection of his ingrained prejudices, zones he thought he had buried deep, but had instead allowed to surface. One afternoon, he sat alone at his kitchen table, staring at his phone, unsure whether to make the call or not. His fingers hovered over the screen, trembling slightly. Then he took a deep breath and pressed dial. Angela's voice greeted him on the other end, calm, professional, but guarded. Angela Brooks, she said. Tom's throat tightened. Chief Brooks, it's Tom Reynolds. I just wanted to reach out, to apologize again, for everything. Angela's silence stretched for a moment. Then, her voice softened slightly. Apologies don't erase what happened. Tom, I know, he said, his voice low, but I want you to know I'm serious about changing. I let my bias get the better of me, and I'm working to truly understand what went wrong. There was a pause, and Angela's tone softened a fraction. It's not enough to recognize the problem. You have to actively confront it every day, not just when it's convenient. Tom swallowed hard. I'm ready to do the work. I want to make it right. I didn't realize the damage I was doing until I saw how you handled it. Angela sighed quietly, her professionalism still intact. Your actions have consequences. Tom, you can't undo what's been done, but you can choose how you move forward. I'll be watching. Their conversation ended, but it left Tom with a renewed sense of resolve he hadn't felt in a long time. He began researching anti-bias programs, reaching out to colleagues he once dismissed, and actively seeking ways to understand his own prejudices. Every conversation became an opportunity to reflect, to listen, and to learn. But the weight of accountability still bore down on him. Every encounter with his coworkers was now scrutinized not just by others, but by himself. The sting of his misjudgment hung heavily over him. Weeks passed, and Tom awaited the results of the investigation. Rumors swirled around the precinct, some officers sympathetic to his cause, others skeptical, but few could ignore the palpable shift in the environment. Angela, meanwhile, continued her mission to enforce integrity and fairness. She expanded internal initiatives aimed at eliminating bias in everyday policing, using Tom's incident as a stark reminder of the work that still needed to be done. Her presence, firm yet compassionate, became a beacon for change within the department. Then, one day, a letter arrived at Tom's home, a formal notice from Angela Brooks outlining the conclusion of the investigation. Tom's hands trembled as he opened the envelope. The letter was concise. It confirmed the findings. Tom Reynolds' actions had indeed violated department protocols, fostering an environment of bias and disrespect. However, it also recognized the steps he had taken to acknowledge his wrongdoing and the genuine effort he had made towards self-reflection. Rather than termination, the letter stated Tom would be reinstated on the condition that he would actively participate in regular anti-bias training sessions for 1 year. Tom read it over several times, the relief sinking in slowly. His chest rose and fell as he exhaled deeply, relief tempered with humility. Over the next months, Tom immersed himself in the training, diving deep into topics that had once been foreign to him. He wrestled with uncomfortable truths, unpacking years of conditioned thinking that had colored his perspective. Slowly, he began to see the world through a clearer lens and free from assumptions and fueled by genuine empathy. Meanwhile, Angela Brooks remained at the helm of the department's reform efforts. Though skeptical of Tom at first, she began to notice subtle but meaningful changes in his approach. When she passed by him in the precinct, there was a quiet acknowledgement and understanding that both of them were walking different paths, but in pursuit of the same goal, justice. One evening, several months into his training, Tom found himself reflecting on the journey he had embarked on. His Saturday at his kitchen table, the weight of his past mistakes still fresh, but tempered by the progress he had made. The lesson learned was more than just professional, it was deeply personal. He reached for his pen and paper, suddenly compelled to reach out once again. Thank you for watching until the very end. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Have a wonderful day.